Good morning, everyone. I'm audible.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Welcome to day two of our demo sessions. Yesterday, we discussed who I am, course roadmap, technologies we will learn, projects, and course structure. Okay, yesterday we discussed who I am, course roadmap, technologies we will learn, projects, and course structure. Today we will start building technical clarity. Okay, today's sections understanding full stack web development. Next one is what is a web applications? What is a web application? Who is a full stack developer? Who is a full stack developer? Next, types of applications. Types of application. Next, high level architecture. High level architecture of web application. Then understanding what is .NET. Understanding what is .NET. Today sections topics are full stack web development, what is a web application, who is a full stack developer, types of applications, high level architecture of web applications, understanding what is a .NET. Okay, the first this section is very important because without clarity in fundamentals framework become confusing. Okay, the first one is understanding full stack web development. Understanding full stack web development. First question is what is full stack? What is full stack? Okay, let's break it down. Okay, a web application has two major parts. Okay, a web application has two major parts. Okay, the first one is front end. The first one is front end. Second one is back end. Second one is back end. Front end means front end what user see and interacts with. Front end is what users see and interact with. Interact with. For example, for example, login page. For example, login page. Second one, buttons. Second one, buttons. Third one, forms. Third one, forms. Okay. Next one, dashboard. Next one, dashboard. What users see and interact with. For example, login page, buttons, forms, and dashboard. Okay. The next one, backend. The next one is backend. Here, where business logic happens. Here, where business logic happens. Second one is where data is processed. Where data is processed. The third one is where database operations happen. Where database database operations happen. Okay. Here where business logic happens, where data is processed, where database operations happen. When one developer can can handle when when one developer can handle front end, back end, database, that person is called a full stack developer. That person is called that person is called a full stack developer. Okay, when one developer can handle front end, back end, and database, that person is called a full stack developer. Now, full stack equal to full stack equal to a complete application development knowledge. A complete application development knowledge. Okay, understand what is a full stack? Full stack is complete application development knowledge. What is complete application? When one developer can handle front end, back end, database, that person is called a full stack developer. That is what is full stack? Complete application development knowledge. Okay, understand what is
Yes, yes,
understand?
yes,
Thank you. The next one is what is web application? The next one is what is web application? A web application is a software. A web application is a software. Okay, that runs in a browser. That runs in a browser. Okay, for example, this is the browser. This is the browser. This is the browser. Okay. Inside that browser, we can run all applications. For example, Gmail, okay, Amazon, Flipkart, okay, and etc. Okay, a web application is a software. It runs in a browser. For example, Gmail, Amazon, and Flipkart and Facebook also. Here, you don't install them like normal softwares. Okay, you don't install them like normal softwares. You access them using a browser. You access them using a browser. Okay, when you type URL, for example, when you type it up in URL www dot something, click on sends request to server. Sends request to server. Server, it processes. Server, it processes and sends response. Sends response and browser display result. This like that. Okay. First, when you type a URL, when you type a URL, when you type a URL, for example, www dot like this. Okay. When you type a URL, browser sends request server. Browser sends request to browser. Browser sends request to server. Okay. Server, it processes. Server processes. Server processes. Okay. Then sends response. Then sends response. Then sends response. Then browser display result. Then browser display result. Okay. Browser display result. Okay. When you type a URL, when you type a URL, browser sends request to server. Server processes, then sends response to browser. Browser display result based on your URL. That is a web application. Okay, that is a web application. Understand? You have any doubts apart from this?
No.
Okay, thank you. The next one, who is a full stack developer? The next one is, who is a full stack developer? A full stack developer can understand a full stack developer understands front end, back end, database, API integration, deployment basics. Okay, a full stack developer can understand front end, back end, database, and API integration and deployment basics. In our course, you will learn in front end HTML, CSS, TypeScript, Bootstrap, Angular, or React. Angular or React. In backend, in backend, you will learn C Sharp, ADO.NET, ASP.NET Core MEC, ASP.NET Core, Web API, and Entity Framework and Entity Framework Core. Okay, and database, database, you will learn SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, that makes you a complete .NET full stack developer. That makes you a complete .NET full stack developer. .NET full stack developer. Okay, in companies, full stack developers are highly valuable. In companies, full stack developers highly valuable because they understand complete flow. They understand complete flow. Okay, they can debug end to end. Okay, they can debug end to end. Okay, they reduce dependency on multiple teams. Okay, they reduce dependency on multiple teams. Okay, in companies, a full stack developers are highly valuable because they understand complete flow. They understand complete flow. They understand debug end to end. They can debug end to end. Next, they reduce dependency on multiple teams. Reduce dependency on multiple teams. Okay, I understand who is a full stack developer. Understand who is a full stack developer.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next one is types of applications. The next one is types of applications. The next one is types of applications. It's also called a desktop applications. Also called a desktop applications. Okay, it installed directly on your system. Installed directly on your system. Okay, for example, Word, Notepad, calculator, and etc. Okay, it also called a desktop application and install it directly on your system. And for example, Word, Node plus calculator. The first one type of application is standalone applications. It also called desktop applications. Okay, it also called desktop applications. First one is stand alone application. It's also called desktop application. Install it directly on your system. For example, Word, Notepad, and Calculator. In standalone application, we have some characteristics. We have some characteristics. First one, works without internet. Works without internet. Second one, runs on local machine. Runs on local machine. Third one, install it using setup file. Install it using setup file. Okay, they have some characteristics. First one is works without internet. Second one runs on local machine. Third one installed using setup file. The next application is second one is web application. Second one is web application. Installed it's and it runs inside a browser. It runs inside a browser. Okay, it runs inside a browser. For example, YouTube, Flipkart, Amazon, Facebook, and etc. YouTube, Facebook, and etc. Okay, here some characteristics are there. Here some characteristics. Okay, first one is internet is required. Internet is required. Second one is no installation needed. No installation needed. Third one is accessible from anywhere. Accessible from anywhere. Okay. Internet is required, no installation needed, and accessible from anywhere. Okay. The third one is mobile application. The third one is mobile application. The third one is mobile application. It installed from app stores. Installed from app stores. Okay. For example, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. Okay. Here also some characteristics. Here also some characteristics. The first one is installed in mobile. The first one is installed in mobile. The second one is uses mobile hardware features. Uses mobile hardware features. Okay. Third one is may use backend APIs. May use backend APIs. Okay. Installed in mobile and uses mobile hardware features and may use backend APIs. Okay. One important thing is most mobile and web applications use the same backend APIs. Most mobile and web applications use the same backend APIs. That's why Lightning Web API is powerful. That's why Lightning Web API is powerful. Apart from this, any doubts? Types of applications. There is a three types of applications. First one, standalone application, is nothing but desktop application. It installed directly on your system. For example, Word, Notepad, and Calculator. Here some characteristics are there. First one is works without internet, runs on local machine, installed using setup file. The second one is web application. It runs inside a browser. For example, YouTube, Flipkart, Amazon, Facebook. Here some characteristics are there. The first one is internet is required here. Second one, no installation needed. Third one, accessible from anywhere. The third one is mobile application. It, it was installed from app stores. For example, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. Here also some characteristics are there. First one, installed in mobile. The next one uses mobile hardware features. The third one is may use backend APIs. One important thing is most mobile and web applications use the same backend APIs. Okay, most web applications, mobile applications use the same backend APIs. That's why Lightning Web API is powerful. Okay, understand types of applications.
Yes.
The next one is high level architecture of a web application. High level architecture of a web application. Here, first one, let's understand step by step. Okay, you are a user. You are a user. User. You open browser. Why you open browser? From your Instagram login. Use of Instagram login. In Instagram runs on inside the browser. Runs on inside the browser. This is browser. Okay, this is browser. You are open in Instagram, you will see your username. You enter your username and password and login button. Anil, mute on your mic. Okay, you enter your username and password and click login button. Okay, then browser browser sends browser sends request to server sends request to server sends request to server. Server means your .NET, PHP, Mern, Python, Python, etc. Okay, server means server checks logic. Here here checks logic. Okay, logics. Server connects to database. Server connects to database. Server connects to database. 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 Database returns the data. Database returns the data. Okay, to server. Okay, returns the data to server. Server sends response to browser. Server sends response to browser. Browser display your dashboard. Browser display your dashboard. This architecture is called this entire architecture is called this entire architecture is called client server architecture. Okay, client server architecture. This entire architecture is called client server architecture. In our course, front end means Angular or React. Okay, front end means Angular or React. Okay, server means ASP.NET Core. ASP.NET Core. Database is SQL Server. Okay, front end is Angular or React. Server is ASP.NET Core. Database is SQL Server. Okay, once you understand this flow, everything becomes easy. Okay, once you understand this flow, everything becomes easy. Okay, the next one is understanding the what is .NET. Understanding the what is .NET. What is .NET? A .NET is a development platform. .NET is a development platform. Okay, it's created by Microsoft. Created by Microsoft. It allows developers to build allows developers to build web applications, desktop applications, mobile applications, and APIs and cloud applications, etc. Okay, it allows developers to build web applications, desktop applications, mobile applications, APIs, cloud applications, and etc. Okay, .NET supports programming language. .NET supports programming language like C Sharp, F Sharp, and VB.NET and VB.NET. In our course, we focus on C Sharp. We focus on C Sharp. Modern .NET frameworks used in industry ASP.NET Core. Modern .NET framework used in industry ASP.NET Core. Okay. Why .NET is powerful? Why .NET is powerful? Because it is secure. It is secure and and scalable. It is also enterprise level support. Enterprise level support and high demand in MNCs. High demand in MNCs and used and used in banking, used in banking, healthcare, and enterprise companies. Okay, it is secure, scalable, enterprise level support, high demand in MNCs, used in banking, healthcare, and enterprise level companies. Companies prefer .NET for large business applications. Companies prefer .NET for large business applications. And today sections you should clearly understand what is full stack, what is web application, types of applications, web applications architecture, what is .NET, why learning .NET full stack is valuable. Okay. Apart from that, any doubts? Any doubts? Okay, don't worry. In next class, okay, you have any doubts apart from that?
No, sir.
Okay. And in next class, we will start technical foundation. We will start technical foundation. What is .NET? In next class, we will start. Next class, we will start technical foundation. What is .NET? Evaluation of .NET architecture, .NET architecture, future of .NET, future of .NET, and what is compiler, and what is compiler, and what is JIT, what is JIT, and CLR, and CTS, and BCL, and garbage collector. Okay, collector. Next one, the difference between .NET framework versus .NET core. Okay, and next one, managed and unmanaged code. Okay, in next class we will discuss what is .NET, evaluation of .NET architecture, future of .NET, what is compiler, what is JIT, what is CLR, what is CTS, what is BCL, and what is garbage collector. Then the difference between .NET framework versus .NET core, and last one, managed and unmanaged code. Okay, we will officially begin your developer journey. Okay, here we will officially begin your developer journey, the final one. Any questions?
No, sir. No.
Okay, okay, see you in the next section. Okay guys, thank you so much for joining. Thank you.